Hello there, kia ora. It's impossible to measure social cohesion in a way that gives us a result that says specifically, this is how cohesive society is right now. But there are a range of tools and markers that can be used to give an idea as to where things stand. Here in Aotearoa, one of those tools is the Stats NZ biannual research piece called the General Social Survey. Every second year, Stats NZ find out how satisfied we are with our lives. And while this year's overall satisfaction score is on par with the last survey, well, there's been some significant drops in some key social cohesion areas, like how safe people feel. Despite a decline, people reported still having relatively high trust in the police and declining trust in the media. People felt less safe about our healthcare system. They had lower levels of trust in the courts, they felt less safe out at night, and they had tanking levels of trust for our parliament. I wonder why that might be. And people also reported feeling far more concerned about crime than they did in 2021. And there may actually be some clues in other data sets that let us work out why Auckland, the Bay of Plenty, and the Manawatu Whanganui areas were the areas which recorded the most significant changes in fear and worry about the effects of crime. And there is an interesting connection amongst all three of those regions. But it should also be noted that in 2021, at the time of the last survey, we'd just come out of lockdowns, which had seen record drops in crime rates nationwide, so criminal activity was lower at the time as rates readjusted for life under various level restrictions. Those three areas I mentioned, though, well, they were all identified as electoral areas National felt that they could flip in 2023. See, here's the police area map, and here's a map of the 2017 election outcomes. Large areas are covered in blue because of the traditional rural voting base that tends to give National their party vote. The deeper the blue, the higher percentage those electorates gave their party vote to National. In 2020, we see a clear shift. Not only does Labour win seats in the Bay of Plenty and Whanganui and around the Manawatu, but the percentage of National Party votes dropped from those deep blue areas from 2017. But the 2023 election saw them return to a dark blue. National and right-wing parties in general like to campaign on tough-on-crime rhetoric that criminal justice experts call fear-mongering. They do this by cherry-picking crime data, and the media tends to amplify that, which is what we saw when there was that whole crazy ram raid frenzy going on, when the media blew the problem way out of proportion when the actual numbers were in decline. Crime and punishment were key messaging elements used by National Party to woo back their voters in 2023. And the way this works best is by creating fear around rampant, out-of-control crime. And ram raids was one of the most used criminal activities to do this. The reality is that in the three regions showcasing the biggest change of fear factor around crime, well, crime rates over the period of the survey were in decline or remaining steady, which means that perception of crime was higher than the reality, which means something was driving that perception. Yeah, let's take a look at an example. These are all headlines from mainstream media in the lead up to the election on the existential horror of ram raids. Fear-inducing dramatic language that implies a major crisis. In fact, this story even had statistics about the dramatic rise of ram raids. Look, it's really dramatic. Only police didn't start indexing ram raids as a crime descriptor until late 2020, and any data before that is the result of text-based automated search functions, like Google, for their own internal systems. They basically did a search for the term ram raid, meaning that it's impossible to give accurate modeling on the number of these crimes. We might have just been in a dip for all we know. It's like the graph of people who are left-handed. As being left-handed was tracked instead of changed, the number of people who identified as left-handed increased. In a graph form, it looks like a rise, but it's not really. It's just the result of changing data sets that better reflect the reality of the situation. But that didn't stop MPs like Sam Uffindell in the Bay of Plenty and, candidate Carl Bates in Whanganui pushing Labour's soft-on-crime thing that they like to go for. Labour bad, National strong. For over a year before the election and during the collection period of the Stats NZ research collection dates. Now, there is a bit of an irony here, though, in that perhaps those who feel most concerned and less safe because of crime should be concerned. Criminal justice and policy experts keep saying this government's policies are actually drivers of criminal behaviours. The fear-mongering used in the last election, especially in areas that research shows are incredibly concerned on this topic, well, they're the ones that are going to be hit the hardest by the very dumb on crime policies that they voted for. Here, the links to other things that come at the end of YouTube videos.